if you want me to put on my fake announcer voice and
Yes.
say,
Ooh,
Heck yes.
welcome to this episode of Free Rotation, where we're going to discuss sexism and sexualization in video games.
That was 100% better than the most of the time we do it. So
God.
yeah.
It was
Yeah.
definitely.
to be
Great.
fair, Angie forgets to even announce that we're a podcast sometimes. So
We all do. It's fine.
You've called us the wrong thing before.
whatever.
Yeah.
Also
Fine.
happens.
Yes.
My bad. Sorry, got confused. But yeah, we're talking Angie, this was like a topic why don't you introduce it? Because this was like the topic that you really wanted to talk about, since we've had quite things that have happened in the last couple months about sexism in video games.
Well, one of the things that really brought this to my mind to maybe talk about is not only all this stuff that you see constantly on Twitter about how women are talked to in video games, but Becky and I were playing Valorant the other day, and I think I said something on voice chat like, you know, so-and-so's mid, or bomb's mid, spike's mid. And then the guy was like, oh, how many chicks am I playing with? Turns out it was a squad of 4 girls and him. And he was just so toxic, and everything became about the fact that we're women and I hate women and, you know, you should be raped. And we actually ended up cutting it and putting it on Twitter. It was so horrific. And even the last day that Valorant was up, we were playing, and I think I said something again like, you know, spikes A long. And he was like, you know, hissing chickens, are you just a really young guy or a chick? And then Becky, I think, responded, and he was like, which one of you is hotter? Which of course is Becky by far.
You're not.
But it just became that. So that's what prompted me, you know, just to think about it. Very eloquent there. I should be an activist.
But I mean, the thing is with video game culture, and I think we're all sort of in that, all of us here today, we're all kind of in that culture at this point as video game players and all that stuff. Video gamers, you know, the demographic of the video game culture has changed since like 1980 to 1990, where it was only perceived to be like a male gender thing. So males only played video games. Girls, no, you know, you don't need to hang out, play girls don't know how to play video games. That's been it. And it feels like that's been the purveying theme, even though it has gotten better, but you still see it. So I think that's kind of important to talk about at this point, especially with how video games have really taken off in the last 10 years and girls playing video games. I mean, there's at least 3 of us here right now who play video games. So
when we say sexism, that's like a prejudice and a stereotyping or discrimination typically against women on the basis of their gender. Sexualization is where you make something sexual or attribute a sexual or sex role to it. And it's something I wanted to ask you guys. Look at what we just did, though. We gender defined sexism, and we're talking about how being women or being men in a game, or girls and boys. And so don't you guys think that we're also being a little sexist when we don't consider non-binary people?
A little bit, but I mean, we're talking, it's hard because we're talking really focusing on your experience and as women. So it's hard to describe it from a person that's non-binary perspective, because you don't have that. You don't have that. You don't have that experience perspective. So it's hard to, and it really wouldn't be fair to try to talk about, because you have no idea what you're talking about. You know, you could totally fuck it up or something. So I don't think it's so much sexism or whatnot. I think it's just you're not informed enough, so you're being respectful enough not to delve into it. It's like white people trying to talk about race. You don't fucking do it. You're stupid. You know?
Yeah. Like we can stand with you. We may not understand fully, but what we can do as a race is stand with you and back you and support you when you talk about the issues you face.
And that's kind of the same.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah, I think it's kind of the same in this situation too. I think that Bobby does bring up a good point, that as binary people, for us at least, it's hard for us to kind of see it from that perspective. I mean, I can see it as a woman, what I experience, but I can't say I see it from a perspective of somebody else who might not be identified as either a man or a woman. So
I guess what brought it to my mind was Becky and I played Valorant with a group of people, and they invited us to their Discord which was named Orphan, and they are all transgendered men and women and non-binary people, and I see them talking in their Discord, and just the trauma of what people say to them, and they don't want to talk in open chat on games. It puts in mind what Ferociously Steph was saying, which we'll get into that later, but that's what made me think about it, is if we as women have this, what do people who don't fit these roles that are acceptable, normal?
That's a really good point. And I think about this a lot because one of the people that I adore her so much, she streams on Twitch. And when I look for people to raid, I want to raid her, but I know that there are assholes. And I do not want to ever have, and I trust my chat for, everyone that comes in my chat is wonderful and I love them, but there's people who I don't know that are in my chat. I don't want to risk it. I don't want to risk bringing someone into her chat that's going to be that dick.
Right.
And it's awful because we shouldn't have to say, that shouldn't have to be a thing, right? That shouldn't have to be a thing that we have to worry about, or people not being decent to other people because of who they are. It's ridiculous.
That's absolutely true. And especially on a platform like Twitch where everybody's so anonymous, you have, it feels like you have the freedom, which you shouldn't have that freedom, a freedom to be a dick.
Yep.
Even if maybe you don't adhere to that belief, but because you have that access to do it, people take advantage of it. And there are a lot of young people on Twitch who are just, I just don't think they really understand the consequences of their words.
No, people can be awful.
Well, anytime someone is anonymous, like, it's like a mask to be as violent and extreme as you want to be. And
yeah,
it's like the same thing in YouTube comments.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's why I just don't even scroll down anymore. I'm like, nope, just gonna look at the video. I'm not even gonna scroll down. There's no point.
I mean, we've had you. Yeah. Well, go ahead, Angie.
Oh, that reminds me of Hannah Kumira, and I really hope I pronounced her last name correctly. The Japanese wrestler, 22, killed herself over cyberbullying. And she said, what you guys say about me is nothing that I don't believe about myself 100%. You might say it, but I believe your words. And I always try and remember that, because like Becky said earlier, I can be very toxic in games and be like, why don't you just sit at your base and not move? Don't you just go AFK? It can't be worse than you playing. And I'm really trying not to be that person, because that might affect somebody negatively.
I think though the weirdness of this is the difference between that kind of toxicity and the toxicity we're talking about is the toxicity regarding being a woman is a personal thing that we can't change. Like, I can't change I could if I wanted to, but I like being a girl. But, if you say, go back to the kitchen, or women should be playing video games, or go kill yourself, you're a woman, that's very different than saying go AFK because you suck at this game. You know what I mean? It just,
or if you rage different. As like in Valorant, and I know what my voice sounds like, and I'm like, oh my God, the spike was right there. It's like, oh, are you on your menses?
Which did happen. This did happen.
It is actually something that was said. And I was like, that's beside the point. Yes, but beside the point. You want to get into this conversation? Because I will tell you.
Not even the point. She would have had the same thing whether she was or wasn't. That's
right. Point. It might have actually been worse if I'd been in a better mood.
Yeah.
Probably.
Which it's also strange to see it kind of, I don't know the word I'm trying to use, but it's the opposite for guys who, like, there's a streamer named Saikuno. He's a Twitch streamer, and he has a very anime kind of like wholesome vibe, and people shit on him so hard because he doesn't adhere to that manly, masculine, I'm a gamer dude kind of like thing. That's a thing, which I don't get where that came from to begin with. I mean,
yes,
it's toxic masculinity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is what has been perceived for a man for hundreds of years, and this is what you should adhere to be considered a man. And if you're not a man, you're a boy or whatever else. So,
and we almost expect it too, don't we? Someone on Twitter recently posted they got a world record in I think it was Super Mario 64.
Nice.
And there was a video that someone posted that was like, this is a wholesome video. And you watch it after he gets the world record, his mom comes in and is like, you got the world record. Oh my gosh, you got it. I'm so proud. Like it's the most wholesome thing. And I opened the comments expecting to see someone be like, I can't believe this, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
I was pleasantly surprised. I'm happy to report that it wasn't at all like that. But I was expecting that because people would look at that like, oh, your parents are blah, blah, blah. And that shouldn't be how it is. It shouldn't, because people should be able to be however they want. And, nicely. You shouldn't have to adhere to this like strong, I'm so great at this game, and, I can't have my mom tell me I did a good job without people making fun of me. Like that, I was really happy that people didn't, but
it's
you expect it.
It's so ironic. It's an irony to it, because it's like people outside of the gaming world think of us as a bunch of nerds. Like nobody gets that masculine idea from, if I tell somebody I watch esports, they think I am the biggest loser there is ever walking the face of the earth. And that's the outside perspective. But inside the gaming world, it's like you have to be masculine on top of being a gamer. It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't. It really doesn't.
Oh, like when I lived with my parents were the exact opposite of that guy's parents. Because I'd be in there watching TV, watching anime, playing video games, and my dad would walk in, how do you watch that crap? I'm like, easy. I turn it on the TV.
Right.
Fair.
I turn on the TV and I watch it. What entertains me.
No, it's funny. My parents used to be that way. And then I got my mom to watch Dragon Ball Z with me, and my father later on as well. So it's funny. Like they give you crap, but it's like, oh, this is actually pretty good.
I've been lucky because my dad was a gamer. That's how I even ever became a gamer. I mean, I've told stories about my dad, how he gets lost in Doom, and I have to like get him out of it because he doesn't know what he's doing. It's like the old man syndrome or something. But I've been lucky with that. But at the same time, it is strange when people hear that I play video games, because I'm a girl. I'm a lawyer and I'm a girl who plays video games. That's
my favorite thing about Becky's parents is whenever we used to go play Magic, they would always call and be like, you going to summon demons and do witchcraft.
Goat killing. They call it goat killing.
You're gonna go goat kill? Yes.
But even in their judgment of that, it's not a high judgment. It's more like, why don't you like grow up kind of thing. Like, why are you playing card games? But it's weird to think that there's an entire group of people who it's just nope, don't I don't know. It's just it's weird. It's weird in my perspective, I guess.
Well, I want to bring up something that's a little controversial. Amaranth and ST Peach. As soon as I say their names, Becky, I see you're like, titty streamers. But they're also very good gamers. They're very, very good at the games they play. But people immediately, because they choose to, I don't know how to put this, be more open in their
sexuality. That's a good one.
Yeah.
The way they present themselves.
Thank you, Moreland. Yes, the way they present themselves, it's so easy to treat them on a sexual bias. And it takes away from the fact that these women are actually very good at the games they play. And I think that as women and people who want to be progressive in our thought processes, we have to stop buying into that. I'm so sick of hearing about Amaranth sleeping with somebody at Twitch, but I get, okay, when she threw her cat though and fed it vodka, that crossed the line.
That was Alinity. That wasn't Amaranth.
That was Alinity, right? Sorry.
Like, yeah, I don't have a problem with being open about your sexuality. I think it's when you use it in a negative fashion and then it reflects back badly on other women. That's where I have a problem.
See, I just think they're businesswomen. That's what earns them money. That's their persona. I know that they had their downsides, but I think everyone's guilty of a little bit of it, of judging based on what someone looks like and how. Of course, if you present yourself that way, don't be surprised when you get, when people accept what you present, if that's what you're presenting. If I sat here in clown makeup and a clown wig, which I never would because I don't want to be possessed by it. And somebody's like, oh, you're a clown. I'm like, oh, fuck you. Not a clown.
I have no problem with them doing that. If I had a 6-pack and big pecs and I was good at video games, I'd stream shirtless or like a thong or something. Why not? Make some extra money. Sure,
Well,
it's fucking fine.
On the opposite of that, as somebody who does stream and
In a thong and shirtless.
No,
Let's be honest.
I'm a larger woman. You know, I make it so my body isn't seen because I don't want that backlash of being a bigger woman. You know what I mean? Because that's the perception. So it is back and forth. It's like, do you want to, like, you know, buy into that look shouldn't be a thing, or are you going to buy into it, I guess?
Mm-hmm. Well, when we say sexism, these things can be as toxic as insulting comments, death or rape threats, demanding sexual favors in exchange for virtual or real money, criticism of the presence of women and their interests. Like it's personal. The attacks are personal.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not to say that men also don't receive this, because think about it. When you want to insult the guy in the game and it's become personal, what's the first thing you say? Have your balls dropped yet? Exactly.
Small dick syndrome.
Yeah. So I'm not saying sexism doesn't go both ways, but I believe that
It affects women more.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly.
I think the statistic is 65% of women report harassment and statistically receive 3 times as much derogatory comments or insulting insults.
When they call being a speedrunner and doing games done quick, I when I'm told a friend of mine who also he does some speed running, he was like, oh yeah, she's one of the few women and you know she's proven herself. I'm like, hold up, proven herself? What the fuck do you mean? Yep. She's a woman and proven herself.
Yep. So that's the kind of the bad thing about speedrunning is, and I actually have a really good friend who speedruns who was scared of that. She was scared people wouldn't take her seriously because she's a girl, she's extraordinarily attractive, and she's very well spoken, and she was just terrified that because of this, people wouldn't they say that, you know, she's an actual gamer, that she actually does things, and she's got a world record, and you know, to keep her anonymous, I won't say in what, but but she shouldn't have had to do that, right? So
right.
She shouldn't have had to been number one at what she does in order for people to say, oh, you know, she's actually serious. And it's just, you know, we get this a lot, both in speedrunning and, you know, I play a ton of MMOs, and it's awful. Like, it gets to a point where you don't want to join Discord. You don't want people to know that you're a female, and you know, in League, if you do bad, the first thing they jump to is you must be a girl.
Yes,
and if you do
good,
have
a girl name,
right? And if you do good, they never jump to like that's not what they're going to say.
Oh,
and
you must,
you know,
you
and when they find out you're a girl, when they find out you're a girl, I've gotten things like, and it was funny that you mentioned it, the whole death threat thing earlier, because people think that that's a joke. I've had people say things like, you know, oh, you're a girl and you do this bad, I bet your mom wishes that she aborted you. And my mom's dead, so I was like, well, you know, my mom's dead, so probably not. And you know, then they went to, she died because you're so bad, and I cried. I cried. And people are really, really screwed up. And, you know, just in addition to the sexism thing, you know, when you play World of Warcraft, the kind of good thing is a lot of people play female characters, right? You never know. But when you get into Discord, which is necessary for raids and have to talk, you either get one of 2 reactions. You get, well, 3 if you have decent human beings. You get, oh, you're a girl? Ugh. And you might even get uninvited, or you'll get, oh, you're a girl, talk more for us.
Yes.
Or you'll get the very rare case of, hey, welcome to the raid, let's get going, which isn't very often.
It's
that should be the norm.
That should be the norm.
It should
and
be.
People are so willing to sexualize anything. I am passionate about this one. I had a character named Kyrar because I used to use the name Kyra back in the day. Kyra was taken when I joined WoW. It was back in vanilla, but Kyra is a short taken name. So I made it Kyrar because I was like 18 and RAR was a thing back then, right? Back in like 2005 or 2006.
Right.
My guild thought that it was KY Jelly RAR. So they called me Lubes. And that was my nickname. to this
Wow.
day, some of the people that I came in and I learned to laugh at it, but at first it made me really mad because this name wasn't meant to be sexual
Right.
at all. It was just Kyrar, like a cute, like Kyra, rar. And they made it into something that was completely, and back in the good old days of 2005 and 6, I didn't even really know what a lot of things were. And that's the other thing, is the internet and video games will introduce you to concepts you have never heard of in your life.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
yeah.
probably could have done without hearing about what they meant.
I feel like that's a big part of it too, is when you play video games, whereas you've been in like your social circle, like in real life, you don't get that same toxicity necessarily until you're in it and you're suddenly like, I didn't realize that because I'm a girl, this is a problem. It's never been a problem.
Exactly.
That's why I don't play League or whatever with randoms. I only play with my friends. It's not worth it.
And then they tell you to mute all, right? Like, oh,
Yeah.
don't get so heated, just mute all.
Yeah.
You need communication in League.
Yeah.
It's a thing you need. So muting all is so detrimental and just not beneficial. But it's what are you going to do? You either take the abuse or you mute them and you potentially miss. Same thing on Discord. If someone's being a jerk, people will say, just mute them. Well, then you risk talking over them and being that asshole, or you risk missing something that they say that is actually relevant to the fight. So you can't necessarily just do that either, because that puts you at a disadvantage, which is just going to strengthen them saying that you're bad because you missed a call, because you had to mute someone because they were being a jerk to you because you're a female, and now you're the bad person because you missed a call. And it's just
like, you should have gone,
a
why didn't you
mess.
come help us with Baron?
No.
Why didn't you do Dragon?
I used to play a lot of.
because I muted you jerks.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Right.
I used to play a lot of CS:GO, so and that
Oh,
shit.
man.
That's I don't know if it's worse than League, but if it's pretty close.
I feel like, as somebody I only played really games that involved actual people, was League was my first game. So there's a different toxicity when it comes to FPS and MOBA games. Like, the toxicity, I think it's because you don't have to be vocal in League. You type it out more so people aren't being toxic to you vocally. But when you start talking, that's when a problem arises, if you have somebody who's a jackwagon.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Forgotten Project. He's #1 in a Fiora player. He's a Grandmaster Fiora player. And he does these things called Undercover League. And one of his Undercover Leagues was he puts his girlfriend on the voice chat and he plays. So when it starts and she's talking, there's so much toxicity because she's a female player. And then it's, oh my God, you're actually good. And it's, what does my gender have to do with the fact that, I just, quadrid?
yeah, why is it shocking to you that a girl just pentakilled the team? Like, why is that? And that's another thing that, how many times have you joined a voice comm and lied and said that your mic was broken because you didn't want them to know you were female?
Yeah.
Right. Or you just don't answer if they start talking. You can
I don't have Discord. Sorry.
Right. That happens a lot in like games like Valorant, where they're talking, they're like, hey, who's got a mic? I'm like, oh, no, I don't have
Well, and that brings up a good segue into Ferociously Steph, who is everyone familiar with Ferociously Steph?
I'm not.
She was she's on the Twitch council, a council they created to keep
Is she
everything fair.
the deer
Yes.
girl? Okay,
Yeah.
I am familiar with her then.
Yeah.
And she had a lot of controversy because recently she said voice chat is unfair, which I don't disagree with a lot of stuff she made her comments, but when as more she was attacked, the more I guess she just kind of lost common sense. And her point was lost when she said, anyone who disagrees with me is obviously a straight, cis, white male, white supremacist. So she lost a lot of...
She also said, if you're a gamer, most likely, if you're a male white gamer, you obviously are a white supremacist. So she's took it too far. I think the point she was trying to make makes sense. If you are in a group of people who tend to get harassed.
Well, I'd like to read her tweets, the first tweets, if that's all right with y'all.
Yeah.
She says, logic, voice chat is important. In team games, voice communication is often critical to competitive success. This is because it has the highest data density for exchanging tactical information. Using this communication band well can often mean the difference between winning and losing, like you were saying, Nichole. Many people have voices that they get made fun of or face harassment for. If you sound feminine or have a speech impediment or an accent, essentially any voice that is an outlier will subject you to varying levels of disproportionate judgment over time in pickup groups. Spending mental energy on defending yourself against abusers is a disadvantage. So is not talking. So is muting everyone. There's also unquantifiable disadvantages when there is harassment. There's also people who respect you and your calls less but won't say so. Quiet bias. I subjectively, as an opinion, believe that voice chat and the cultural biases against minorities' voices it reveals is a large reason why there is a lacking in diversity highest level play in team games, especially when compared to single player competitive titles. For clarification, I think voice chat is unfair to the point that games would be most fair without it. I do not want to take away voice chat from your favorite game. I wouldn't if I had the power to. Implementing it in an already diverse established game is a more difficult question. Isn't this a cultural problem, you might say, in a non-game mechanics issue? Yes and no. You don't fix systemic bias overnight. By better protecting minority gamers from this bias, I believe we'll see more diversity in the highest levels of play, which could help change minds. That was the original series of tweets that were put out.
It sounds reasonable when it's like that.
Yeah, and what she says about people quietly not listening, you know, I hate to keep interjecting with experiences here, but
No, that's exactly what we need.
So I play WoW. I'm an officer in my guild, and we have raid leaders, of course, which I am not one of, which is fine. I didn't want to be. But I also had AOTC before most of the guild. If you don't know what AOTC is, it means that you've beat the current content raid boss on heroic before the content is old. So it's a nice achievement to have. It means basically I knew the fight. I knew what was going on. So our guild was finally going to go and try to get AOTC, and the people who are leading the raids didn't have that experience. So I tried to, you know, say things that we could do and was immediately shut down. Just, why are you trying to do this? Why are you stepping on people's toes? But anyone else says anything and they are listened to. And that was so frustrating. It's like, I'm trying to help you guys. Like, I've done this many times and I just want to show you, you know, this is the path you take that makes it easier. This is what you can do. Just don't, I can't believe you do that. Like, there was a huge fight about it. Like, I was pretty sure I was going to get kicked off of officer because of it. And anyone else, though, that has any input is always welcome to give their input. But no, not me. I'm stepping on the raid leader's toes if I try to tell people how to improve. So that is a really good point that gets overlooked a lot is, you know, you can say things and people might hear them, but they might not necessarily do it because they think that you're wrong or they think that you don't know, which completely isn't true.
No, there was the comment about the diversity in team games is interesting because you go look at Evo or like for fighting games and it's a pretty diverse community because, you know, it's single player, it doesn't matter. So, but it makes sense just seeing the difference in diversity between like genres of gaming like that.
I think it's difficult, like kind of in the same sense that Nichole has is we've had a similar experience. Angie has actually, because we play a mobile game in which Angie was what we call an R4. So it's like second in command in that game. And it almost felt like everything she would say, it would be subverted by somebody else who was a dude. I mean, that's how you know, Angie,
and then we would eventually get back to what I said initially after everything else failed. And then he would be given, oh my God, what a great idea you just had. And I let it go. I think for a lot, because if you say something, if you do speak out, you're being a bitch. Well, why are you being so aggressive? Why are you being such a bitch? And it's like,
we're not even in that guild anymore. So it doesn't really matter.
We don't even go there anymore.
We don't even go there anymore. But like the sense that you get is that, I mean, it was to the point where Angie was just like, I'm done. I can't, I mean, it was some people she knew for a long time that at some point you have to just be done with it.
Yeah. It's just such a lack of respect for your ideas. And then, you know, they value you, it seems, as this, because you're the woman on the R4. We have a chick. We're progressive. We have a girl in leadership.
Token white, token girl.
If you have to say that, then you don't respect me as a person, and much less a woman. Well, do you guys think that pushing diversity and inclusion would change the current trend?
I mean, it would, but you know, you're gonna have the assholes that currently play fucking have an incel shit fit about it. So I mean, it would help. I'm for it, but they're gonna have a lot of backlash. If I could speak fucking properly, it'd be
A
nice.
bashlack.
A bashlack.
That's kind of what it is. It's a bashing.
Crusaders.
I think-
A crusader.
I think it's so formulated in gaming. It's such a formulated thing, especially for younger people. You don't see it very often. If you play with people our age, you don't, especially random guys that you talk to, you don't really see it as much. I really do think part of it is a maturity issue and the image that you portray. And a lot of people, when you start to get older past 20, 25, 30, you don't care about the image you're trying to portray. You're just trying to be a person.
Yeah. You're not trying to be a cool kid anymore. You're trying to be a real fucking human being.
Well, I've never been a cool kid once in my life, so I never tried to be the cool kid.
Morlin, I think you're the coolest. So shut
I was gonna say, Morlin, you're like the coolest.
Yeah.
And
I don't know what y'all are talking about. Y'all are crazy.
I will
If y'all are high or something.
I will say
wish.
the one thing I do appreciate for Wizards of the Coast.
Yeah.
Okay, Wizards of the Coast. I know.
Wizards of the Coast.
Yeah,
Yay.
I do.
My friend used to work for them.
what?
Yep, he
That's-
worked at their brick and mortar store in Owings Mills, Maryland before it
Oh,
went out of
wow.
business.
That is so,
Oh.
wow, that is
Wow.
so cool.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to work for Wizards, like the D&D side, not the Magic the Gathering. I don't have any of that creativity, but I always thought it would be kind of cool to work for them. But I do appreciate for them, they've like Mark Rosewater and from Magic the Gathering, the head designer, and D&D and all of that, they have done such a good job of trying to make it more inclusive, like not exclusive, but inclusive to having women, having, I believe that, if I'm not mistaken, wasn't one of the newer champion.
Autumn.
Are you talking about Alessia?
Yes.
First trans.
Yes.
Yeah.
A trans woman a trans woman as a Magic card.
Did they do that?
They
Yeah.
did, yeah.
Mhm.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I think
Good
it's
on
Alessia
them.
who smiles at death.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I love magic.
And then
And
they
then
had
Mm-hmm.
We had Autumn Birch. I'm sorry, I keep interrupting. I'm
No,
sorry.
I think
No,
you're
go ahead,
Autumn
Pops.
Burge, and then the gay couple who was one of the commander sets.
Oh, the two gladiators.
yes,
Alex, Alexa, and Climate or something like that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Climate and yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was talking about Autumn, the one of our recent, it's last year or the year before last, one of our Magic Fest champions.
That's
is
who I was talking
trans,
about too, yeah.
Non-binary, yeah,
yeah.
non-binary or trans. I'm not entirely sure. Forgive my ignorance.
But yeah, they've done a really good job of pushing a diverse group of people versus the whole magic is for smelly white guys. You know what I mean? That's been sort of the trend in the basement dwellers for D&D, and that you don't see that as much. And I think Wizards has done a great job of making it more inclusive for everybody, because you don't really ever see like, oh, it's a girl, oh, blah, 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 blah. You know, it's more like, oh, look at her accomplishments. Look at what she has done for the game, or look at who is creating for us.
Mm-hmm.
No, I want to bring that up real quick. The whole nerdy, sweaty guy. I was at an open a couple of years ago, and Angie Beck and Moreland know I dress pretty well. I'm pretty fashionable, whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And I was,
He's very well dressed metrosexual.
it's. I know I'm great, but I was outside smoking, and it was at the convention center in Duluth. So there's like a bunch of things going on that day. And I was just making small talk with this girl. She's, oh, what are you here for? I'm like, oh, I'm here for the Magic tournament. And she gives me a funny look, goes, you don't look like a Magic player.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what does a Magic player look like?
Yeah, that's really what
I would have said to her, and you don't look like
Me?
the bitch you apparently are. Like,
The thing is, I didn't want to be hostile, so I was like, yeah, ha ha ha, I'm gonna go back inside now.
mhm.
No.
It's fine.
I think it's unfortunate because the stereotypes I mean, you think about when you go to Dragon Con, what you think of when you see people who dress up in cosplay like that to people outside. To be fair, I think everybody, it has such a stereotype for gaming in general. It's trying to fix it within itself that I think it's important, because if we are a united front in this idea, it looks better down the road.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Agreed.
Yep.
Well, that brings us into the sexualization of, I'm just going to say genders, because I think it would be wrong to say just of women, but it is women that are the most notable as the sex objects. But sexualization is the portrayal of women in video games, and it's actually been the subject of some academic studies and controversy since the 80s, actually. Back when Nintendo decided to gear more towards men by sexualizing women. But it also is the sexual objectification, sexualization of female characters done to appeal to a male audience to the degree of which female characters are independent from their male counterparts in games. If you pick the female character, you're pretty sure what she's going to look like. The sexualization of women involves the use of female bodies in a way that renders them the object of a sexual gaze or perception. Their bodies are objectified and they are reduced to that of a sex object. Research on exposure to sexualized media representations of women in television and magazines has asked whether it reduces males' compassion towards women and reduces women's perceptions of their desire and suitability for various vocations. I ripped that off Wikipedia word for word because I just thought it was such a great paragraph.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because it's the sexualization of women. Like we hear when you watch porn a lot, you desensitize yourself to it. So the sexualization of women that's what it leads to sexism. And there's another side to this. I found this quote from Paul Tassi in his article, The One Side's Problem of Over-Sexualization Video Games. And he said, the idealized hero form is something that's existed long before video games, originating in modern pop culture in the form of comic books. It's a type of anatomy that represents the pinnacle of human perfection and even extends far beyond what any flesh and blood humans are capable of building themselves into. So that's a different perspective. So is it sexualization, and how do we actually define that, or is it this pinnacle that you would aspire to be and achieve?
I think that's my brain is taking a lot in at this very moment. It's a lot to take in because it is a good point. Because to me, it's the sexualization that has led to the sexism. But I mean, I think that just comes from the fact that think back to the old school comic books and Wonder Woman. She had to be lassoed to bring down her powers in a very dominating
by a man. She was lassoed by a man.
So it's something that's so hard ingrained. It's hard to see it outside of that sort of box, in my opinion.
I think as for me, when I think about sexualization, I don't mind the way Miss Fortune looks in League. I love her big boobies and I enjoy playing it and watching her run. I'm just gonna be very real with y'all. I enjoy it.
When I play video games, just about no matter what kind of video game I play, my character is a female. This is obviously coming from a male. My character is a female.
Yeah.
Because I like to play, I've just always liked to play the female characters. Growing up, that's what I like to play. Like when I was playing Donkey Kong, when I played the second one, I played more as Dixie than I did Diddy because I like Dixie better. I bet
you did like Dix better.
Oh, you set yourself up too much, Moreland.
I don't even care. It's whatever at this point. So, but no, I like Dixie better because ponytail, fly around and everything like that. So I'd always strive to have Dixie. And then Soul Calibur, I was always Talon. Not just because they were, aesthetically pleasing, but I like the way that they fought, the way that their move sets were for, fighting games or other things.
Well, that's kind of Angie too. I mean, she mostly plays, think about it, in D&D, she plays a guy. In most Dragon Age games, other than I think Inquisition, she played a guy. I think it just depends on your preference on what you want to do in a game. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think the problem becomes when you play a certain character because of the sexualized idea of it,
or when that sexualized character isn't as good as, like to Moreland's point, if she looked fantastic but she wasn't as good. And my problem in games, and I have to give Riot credit for not doing this, is when children are sexualized. When you have the lollies and or you sexualize animals, and I'm not talking about the furries. I'm talking about like a weird bestiality. I don't know what
I can see your mind going somewhere, and you're like, okay, I gotta come back.
Like if I held my cat up and somebody was like, "Ooh la la," I can see her nipples.
Yeah, I got you.
It's weird. I've gotten to a weird path, but like the sexualization of children, that truly bothers me. So in Riot, Jinx is younger and she's flat-chested. But what bothers me is when people talk about Jinx needs boobs. I think she's like
Jinx doesn't need
12.
boobs.
Yeah.
No,
No.
she's a kid.
I didn't know Jinx was a kid, actually.
Yeah, she's younger. She's Vi's little sister.
I think she's a
Aw.
teenager, I think.
Yeah.
But she's young, but they don't make it a hugely sexual thing. Yes, she's wearing a bikini, but it's more like you can see she's just chaos, and that's the thing.
Mhm.
And Zoe and
It's
Nico
more-
they're
she's
thousands
very-
of years old, but they're still kids, so they don't sexualize them.
Right.
And Annie. They don't
Annie,
sexualize
yes.
Annie,
Thank
which
God. I'd be
good
super
on them.
uncomfortable. Yeah, I'd
Yes.
be super
Good on them.
uncomfortable.
I don't know if I don't know if it's such an it's hard to think about now, because now that you put it in that perspective about, is it just ingrained in us? I think it is. I think you just automatically, I mean, think about a lot of the JRPGs we would play. I mean, it is clearly highly sexualized for the women. There was one game we used to play, and I was always like, how can a woman survive all those hits and all she's wearing is a bikini? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what are you doing? It's just, it's very strange.
Or like that meme where it has the woman and the dude and they're buying armor, and then she's like, you know what, you like this so much, you wear it. But then he puts it on and he's like, this is so light, I can run and jump in this, and she just shoots him in the leg and kills him.
Yeah.
How is she bulletproof?
Yeah.
I think that also brings up a good point about Anna Sarkeesian, because that was kind of where it really started perpetuating in the
I remember
21st
this-
century.
I remember this happening on Reddit and everything. It was a time to be alive. For sure.
Gamergate.
I mean,
Ugh.
she was horrifically targeted
Oh, yeah.
online in her personal life, because she had the nerve to speak out against tropes. The damsel in distress trope being and this is, y'all know, this is why I hate Disney movies. I hate the damsel in distress. I like the way they've gone, like we're Brave and Moana, especially Moana. She didn't need a love interest, but why does every movie need a love interest? She's
don't.
capable of saving herself.
That's why I like Studio Ghibli movies. I think it's just because of the perception. I mean, you got to think about it from the context for Disney, at least specifically Disney. Like back when Snow White and Sleeping Beauty and all these movies came out, they were fairy tales that sort of were in that patriarchal woman needs to be saved idea. And I think as Disney has grown as a company, they're seeing that we have to adhere to this idea that women can be women and not need to have a guy save them. They don't have to do any of this. They're as able-minded and I think that also comes from us growing up and wanting to see that in a context and wanting our children to see that. We want our children to be strong, whereas maybe that wasn't the idea back when we were little.
Yeah, I guess back when those first original movies were released, women were mostly housewives. And
Yes. Yeah, the whole 50s, 60s garbage, you know.
which I'm
Gotta
not
have-
saying anything against housewives if that's what the woman chooses to be, or that's what life has handed her, that she needs to be home, then I'm definitely not taken away from a woman's choice. If that's your choice, that's great. But all Anna Sarkeesian did, she wanted to do the tropes versus women. And so she started this project, which is a series of articles and then short little video clips. But it just hit these men like a ton of bricks. And they went after her, even so far as she was going to receive an award, and they threatened to bomb the place. And she just canceled her appearance. And it's continuing to this day, this targeted harassment against her.
It's to me, it's almost a self-fulfilling prophecy. Is you are calling out this woman doing it because you say that she's over-exaggerating it or she's shedding light to it, but then you are making it a problem.
That you're perpetuating it.
Yes.
Well, I think because she had the word feminist in her magazine, and you hear the word feminist, and some people just have this incredibly left or right perception of what feminism actually is. And just like in everything, it's like not all Republicans are one way, not all Democrats are one way, not all feminists are going to be the same way. We're all people with different ideas and thoughts.
You can't stereotype.
Yep.
No, but I remember the whole Zoe Quinn thing. That shit was nuts.
You want to explain it a little bit?
Sure. From what I remember, and feel free to correct me, she had
Bobby.
fuck you.
It's all wrong.
You're wrong, Bobby.
She had helped develop a video game, I believe, and she I think was dating a reviewer for like Kotaku or one of the IGN, one of them, something. They're all the same. And then he positively reviewed her game, and then they broke up, and I guess like she had cheated on him or something, and it was just a whole fucking mess. Am I remembering this correctly? I think it's 6 years past from what I remember.
It's basically she ended up being targeted because of her relationship or the lack of relationship afterwards, and people were using. I think they were using her nudes. I think anything he had said, he was releasing it to people.
Yeah, he's being a piece of shit.
And there's been in the last month, there was a streamer, a really well-known streamer who is dating another well-known streamer. And then at like TwitchCon, I think she cheated on him with a couple of different people. Oof. And so these, it comes out and she admits to it, but she is just demonized and completely just destroyed. Meanwhile, these guys who knew she was in a relationship who cheated with her, they're looked up, oh, you slept with so-and-so, good on you. And I think that's where we sexualize women to the point that we cease to be people and we just become this sex object. Like I don't understand, why she's targeted because
a good example of that is Dr. Disrespect. When he came back from streaming after he made his announcement he cheated on his wife and was going to stop streaming for like 6 weeks. He came back and he's still one of 50K viewers regularly, and he is a running joke in the scene at this point, but it's not to the point of it's like, he's a shithead because he cheated on his wife. It's, hey, you cheated on your wife. You know what I mean?
Meanwhile, Mackenzie's cheated. Well, it was said that she cheated on her boyfriend. He went live on her stream and just ruined her. And now she maybe gets 30, 40 viewers where she was in the thousands because people have judged her so harshly. Or think about the guy who beat his wife on stream and you hear his kid screaming, stop, and she's begging him to stop, and he's beating her. And then on that YouTube video when it was released, all the comments were, this has nothing to do with his gaming. Yeah,
it does.
Yeah.
It's like, she probably deserved it. Like, are you... oh, by the way, he's streaming again. So
if I got caught in a domestic violence situation, any of us in the real world, we would lose our jobs.
Yeah.
We wouldn't be... I would 100% lose my job. There's no way I would be able to say... They wouldn't be able to say, well, that doesn't have anything to do with her work. It would be, you need to go do something you need to figure something out because we can't have you working here.
Exactly.
Nichole, what are your thoughts about,
like, as far as characters and whatnot go?
Yeah,
I think that it shouldn't be surprising when there's a character that isn't sexualized.
Yeah,
that's
so true.
Like one of my favorite games is Tales of Xillia, and it's one of the only games that I played that had like a female protag that wasn't overly sexual. Mila's never sexual, and that's shocking.
I think about Valkyrie Profile. I can't remember. I think that's why I like that game so much. It didn't really have that sexualized theme to it.
You think like in the games that you don't see, I think there's also, you have to make an argument for like, I'm thinking like The Last of Us. My brain, Ellie, she's a child, but it's not anything for them to make her slightly sexual in order to propagate or, perpetuate that idea, but they didn't. She was just a kid. So I think game developers see that now, and I think they're making concerted efforts to make a difference, because even in, I think, The Last of Us Part 2, Ellie is a lesbian.
Yeah.
They're not making it to this like idealized idea of heterosexual normity and all that stuff. It's, they're trying to do right by people when they haven't been done right in the past.
Oh, and the fucking internet flipped their shit about the whole Last of Us 2 thing. Oh,
I know.
God. I pre-ordered that shit. I was like, I'm getting this. So I love the first one. And it's just like, who gives a shit if
right.
Like why are you mad? Good. Yeah, like if the story's good, who cares? Quit being a fucking man baby. Like it's like, you're really gonna fucking like stand your ground here? Like come on. Like there's way bigger issues in the world going on right now than the sequel to a great game, the character's gay. Like get the fuck over it. Like, it's just aggravating.
It's 2020. Move on.
Exactly. That's what I'm trying to say.
I feel like that should be the like title of this episode.
It's 2020. Jumanji is real.
Yeah.
We see it every day. We've got bigger things to worry about.
Exactly.
Well, and to be fair, sexualization is also when you think about, say, Braum or Garen and their massive biceps, and
Yeah.
you know, the 17 pack abs, because somehow there's mysteriously another ab. And like when I build D&D characters that were grotesquely overweight because it worked great. But when Becky ran her Dragon Age campaign, I built that like Fabio Justin Bieber looking dude.
Yes.
And so I do kind of understand the pinnacle of human perfection, but then I also feel like, because I do like women's bodies, do I not have a good perspective on it? Do you know what I mean? I don't know if I'm
If
biased
you're
enough to
biased.
look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they're pretty. They're funny. They're pretty to look at.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
Yeah.
Girl bodies are good to look at.
But I would also play a character who didn't have a pinnacle of perfection if I liked the character.
I played.
I don't think.
Go ahead.
Oh, I don't think that making a character like that is bad either, because I mean, I do the same thing. When I make a character, I'm going to be playing her for lots of hours, and she's cute, and I like that. Like,
Yeah.
I like cute girls. So, like, I made an ESO character the other day, and I'm like, I'm going to make the cutest girl.
Exactly.
You want things to be, like I said earlier, aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah, but that's so much different than like, oh, I want to fuck her. Like that's completely different.
Exactly.
You know, true as that may be, that isn't the motivation, and and a lot of people's like will look at that character and be like, oh, I want to bang her, and like that's not what she's for.
Okay, I appreciate you saying that, because that really does clear up what I was having.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with, like, you know, make a pretty girl. Like, I did it yesterday.
I mean, I have told people I spent hours on Dragon Age just character creation, and as soon as I make it and it looks bad, I'm like, nope, gotta start the game over. This is right.
I mean, and you're going to be playing that game for tens and possibly even hundreds of hours.
Right.
You want it to be aesthetically pleasing to you, and that doesn't mean that you're being gross about it or anything like that. It doesn't mean that you're like, oh, well, you didn't make a guy, so how dare you?
Right.
I'm just playing something that appeals to me, and
right.
that's all. That's the depth of it. That's the depth of it. It's not deeper than that.
When we would play Diablo together, I can't tell you how many times I had to go find dyes for her armor, and I would have to go find armor pieces so she could transmogrify to
I love transmog.
Yeah. I'm telling you, because you want to look at that character and be like, that's the badass I want to look like. And if it doesn't aesthetically please me, that's not okay.
We would be in a fight, and I'm like throwing fireballs and lightning and like struggling to survive, and I look, and Becky's like, how does my character look on her horse? I don't like the way this looks. I need silver dye and cloud dye. And I'm just like, can you just throw out one spell? Just one.
It's funny, y'all, like, I want to make this like cute girl or guy or whatever. I'm like, I make my fucking, like, in character customization, I make it look like fucking me. That's what I do. I'm like, I want it to look like me.
Bobby is the PC.
Bobby's like, I am the pinnacle of male perfection.
Fuck yeah, I got nice hair and I dress well, and I'm getting there.
You do have nice hair, Bobby.
The sexual tension has returned. I forgot.
The lovers have returned.
He's engaged now. I can't. I'm not a homewrecker.
I think Tasha, you are Moreland's pass, if I'm not mistaken, right, Moreland?
What?
Never mind.
He's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
I think you strung a bunch of words together, but you didn't actually make a sentence there.
Listen, I'm on the struggle bus this morning, okay? Leave me alone.
I feel that.
It's 1 o'clock for you. What are you talking about? Morning.
It's morning somewhere.
It's
I've had
1,
6
but
cups
it's
of
morning.
coffee.
I haven't drinking my coffee this morning. I'm drinking iced tea.
Coffee.
I had 6 cups. I'm great. I'm gonna crash in about an hour.
So let's talk about our love of coffee. Nicole, I see your eyes lighting up.
I think it's just like sexualized coffee there.
I know. I'm very excited once we're done, because we're gonna go celebrate Angie's birthday the best we can. But I'm gonna go get Starbucks. That's the first thing. Number 1.
Yeah. She was like, "What do you want for your birthday?" I'm like, "I would like for my cat to be healed, and I would like a Starbucks."
I feel like I've done really well at not derailing anything, but now I can't hold it in anymore because I've been thinking about this for the past 15 minutes.
Sure.
I think we have the same headphones.
We do!
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh my God. They're so comfortable.
They're so good. I just kept looking. I was like, I have those headphones.
Yeah, but can y'all's HyperX headset do this? Oh, look, I'm all the way over here.
No.
You're gonna fall, Becky, for sure.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
You're
It's a-
not
it's a
graceful
curb.
enough to. Okay, Nicole. Becky has a problem with curbs. We were up in a
Yes,
mountain.
she does.
We were hiking up Immaquilla Falls, and we're like almost to the top of the mountain. There's a tiny curb, a little grate, and Becky finds it and falls. And I barely saved her life. Anytime there's a curb, she's gone. What are you doing, Becky? Looking for curbs?
Closing thoughts. I don't think there's an answer. I don't think we're going to solve the problem today. I do think
Hey.
that unfortunately, I think it's just a purveying problem, but I hope that people will educate themselves a little bit more. If you are
Yeah.
a jackwagon in game and you listen to this podcast and you play against me, I'm going to say this because, I'm trying to, I was politically correct through most of this episode, but I will start talking about your small dick. That's just going to happen at this point because I don't know how else to deal with you. I will degrade you at some point.
Becky
Wow.
may be a lesbian, but she likes to talk about small dicks all the time.
Because I have
Yeah.
a huge one.
True.
She's
Look,
got-
store-bought
bigger than
does
mine.
not count. I've already gone over this with y'all.
Store-bought does count, Moreland.
It counts.
Earlier, she was not doing well, but we ate some chicken and shrimp.
Yay.
Sweet baby.
Yeah.
Chucky's
so-
the best.
Chucky is the best. She's our mascot for Twitch.
I love her.
Yeah.
She's so
yeah,
cute.
Girl.
she's a great kitty, but she I found out a couple of months ago she had terminal cancer,
Oh,
and unfortunately it is spreading and affecting various things. So this morning was really rough for her, but she
Aw.
seems to be okay.
She's hanging out with her
hanging in
mom
there.
now.
Such a love.
Yeah, that's we were gonna, go to the pool today and maybe bike ride, but we're gonna hang out with Chucky today.
Yeah.
So
My only
Aw.
birthday wish is for this little one to feel better.
I hope
Mhm.
she feels better.
She will.
She's
Yeah,
so
'cause
cute. Look at
Mhm.
her.
She's baby.
she loves pogo sticks in the blood of her enemies. That's her
Mhm.
tagline.
So
It's a good
when
thing to love.
when we first got her, there was a knock at the door, and I answered it, and it's these two neighborhood kids. They were probably like 5 and 7, and literally said to me, "Miss Cat Lady," and I was like, "Oh, here it is." He's like, "There's a cat, and she's hungry, and she needs you." And Becky went out and got her, and I told her that day, I was like, "You'll have a forever home as long as you want it." I think she understood.
Yeah, she's my swamp hag cat.
Mhm. Becky calls her an old swamp hag.
I love her.
She has
She's
no
so cute.
teeth.
Oh,
She hags away.
She's sweet
Still
girl.
got those claws, though.
perfect.
She still got those claws though, and they
Of
hurt.
course. And they hurt
Especially
you for
playing
sure.
a game, and she catches you in the side where you're not paying attention.
I know.
You better
I-
pet her.
Yeah, more than Chucky's loves me, so I don't know why she scratches you.
hmm I pulled her out to say
Because
hi
she
to
wanted
Moreland
attention.
once, and she hissed at him so hard, and I could tell it hurt Moreland's feelings. He was like, but I love you. She was like, hiss. Hiss, hiss.
Well,
was
you
so
can pet me anytime.
Sad. I don't think Tasha would appreciate that, but
The parting thoughts.
Sexism and sexualization is bad for both sides.
Bobby with the hard hitting pass.
I'm not fucking smart. I just, it's what the cat up to my head. It's fine.
Fuck you, sexist. There we go.
Yeah, essentially. Angela, what's your closing thoughts besides Chucky's soft skin? I mean,
Yeah.
fur.
She's sweet.
Mhm.
I think that it really is one of those lines that constantly moves, and it could be the way you intend something, especially in regards to sexualization. But I think if we allow something like, oh, it's just the way people talk to each other in games in regards to sexism, then how much easier is it to say, oh, it's not racism, it's just, it's just toxic in games, or
Mhm.
it's not homophobia. I think when you allow something, then you open this portal to hell.
Mhm.
But
I agree.
honestly, when we talk about it, I don't know how to fix it, and I think that's where the gaming industry is right now. Like, how do you fix something? How do you fix an entire culture where toxicity is acceptable?
where it's been ingrained into us for hundreds of years.
Yeah, like even think about Twitch has its own language. Like, poggers
Yeah.
in chat. PogChamp. Is it what gaming is? Can it be fixed?
I think it can be fixed. I'm an optimist. I think it
I'm a
has to be
nihilist.
fixed.
Go away.
Or I think you're gonna have to fix it, or you're gonna always have this problem. The first thing people say a lot of times when they play League, I don't play League because it's too toxic.
Mm-hmm.
If that's your first thing, instead of like, it's the gaming's too hard. It's a complicated game. I don't have time to learn it. I don't want to spend the money. And your thing is it's too toxic. That's the problem.
Mhm.
Yep.
So that's my parting thought. I'm a smart girl. That's about all the thoughts I have left at this point, honestly.
What about you, Nichole?
It's rough because it needs to change, but I am going to be the pessimist instead of the optimist and say, I don't see it changing, unfortunately, but it needs to. But we can all do our part, right? We can all be that person who says welcome to raid instead of, oh, you're a girl, or oh, you sound like this, or making
can all
fun
try.
of people. We can all do
Right.
that. And the more people that try, the better, because that means maybe even more people will try, and positivity will come, and people will see the positivity, and then they will try too. And the more people we have at least trying, the better things are going to be. If anything, for just one person, if you can change a game for one person, if you can make it so one person joins scared that they're going to be made fun of and they aren't, then you've done something good.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yep. Agreed.
Well, on the flip side of all of this, and I think we meant to mention this, is like, while we do have a lot of toxicity and what happened in Valorant was sucked, we did have a guy we played with when we ended up lady squatting with the people with the first guy. He said, y'all been great to play with. I feel so happy that I got to play with y'all. Y'all were awesome. And it wasn't because we were women, just because he was like, y'all did great. Thank you so much for carrying me. That was his thing. So I think
he was like, I got carried.
Yeah, I think that there's
Not by me, because I went like 1-13. But
whatever. But I think that that's important to note, is that while we keep talking about people being toxic, there are at least a group of people, whether it's the minority or the majority, that are actually pretty cool people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You just got to find them. It's hard to find, but we'll find them. They're like the golden egg,
they truly are.
the unicorn in gaming. That's actually what it should be called, the unicorn in gaming. That's what this episode title is going to be.
Deal. Can I be the unicorn?
no, Bobby.
Only,
Oh,
never mind.
Nicole's the unicorn.
Fine,
Magical.
whatever. Yeah.
Moreland, do you have an opinion, or are you just like,
Angie said everything, but I'm gonna weirdly agree with Nichole and be a pessimist about it. Like I want it to change, but I don't think it's going to, just because of the idiots
world.
that are in gaming.
well, I think I'm a realist, though, and I know that it's not going to change, but, I try to live the optimist. I hope to be optimistic. I want to be optimistic, but realistically, I don't think it will, but optimistically.
Well, I read this quote one time that said, if you want to see change, if you want to change the world, you don't have to focus on changing something big, but if you change yourself, then you've taken a step towards changing the world. So maybe people who listen to this, I know it really, I was like, holy crap. It's like the most important change you can make is to yourself. And then that's what changes the world. So maybe when you guys listen, if you think, oh, I do that, or it's so quick to be like, oh, that's gay. Just think about things before you say it. I am working on my toxicity.
Yeah.
I'm going to try and stop yelling and telling people to go AFK.
Yeah.
And asking them if they need a Go-Gurt or a snack. Maybe.
That would
No,
actually be hilarious.
I'm going to try.
Well,
Hey, Becky, where can they find us?
you can find us on Facebook at the Free Rotation Podcast. You can find us on Twitter at the Free Rotation.
What about Spotify?
I knew it. You can find us on Spotify at the Free Rotation Podcast.
Is there a Discord?
Oh,
I have to remake the
Nicole.
Discord. Thank you for calling it out.
Oh.
I actually have to fix the Discord because we don't have access to our actual Discord. There was there's history here, but I got to fix it. But yes, we will have a Discord for the Free Rotation Podcast. We're on Weeby Geeks. Check out all the other great podcasts at WeebyGeeksPC.com, and we are also on Twitch and YouTube. Check us out streaming. It's very, very dry right now because Valorant's down, but hey, things happen. We could figure something out.
We could play Aram. Nicole, are you down for some Aram later? Yes.
So much yes.
Nichole, you have a social media handle.
I do. It's NR Goodnight on Twitter.
And
There
check
we
her
go.
out at No Sleep Podcast.
Yeah.
No Sleep Podcast.
Yeah.
If you didn't listen to
Spookiness.
our last episode, you're stupid because you should listen to it.
Wow. Okay.
Tox-
Talk about
we were just
toxicity.
toxic-
I can be
Toxicity.
toxic to our
Wait a minute.
listeners. They don't count.
Oof.
Wow. Holy crap.
Wow.
I'm talking about you, Alex. I know you're listening.
I don't get the reference, but sure.
It's one of our friends who listens to the podcast, and I always tell him. My thing is, I tell him he's playing bad, and he knows. That's my thing now.
Yeah.
Is I just tell him, inflame him. So everything I tell him, I'm like, you're just bad.
He plays Jet in Valorant. Nichole, who did you play in Valorant?
Oh gosh, I didn't unlock many people. It wasn't the bow and arrow person because my other friend always played the bow and arrow person. I think they had something to do with poison. No, ice. I threw ice walls.
Sage.
Oh, Sage.
Sage. Okay.
Yeah, I was bad.
We should have definitely
To be
Sage
fair-
most of our games.
To be fair, Sage is very hard to play, and I don't play her because I'm not smart enough to figure her out.
I was so bad.
One of our first games, I'm a Raze player, and I blew up all of us at spawn and at East, but it was my own team. So
That's amazing.
just gonna put that in perspective.
Yeah. There's no bad players in Valorant for us. We're all the same. We're whelming, and that's all that matters.
Yep. Just whelming.
And then I played Sage once, and I went to do a wall, but somehow I was looking up. So when I cast the wall, it fell down and crushed a teammate. Like, I didn't even know you could do that.
I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It's a lot of learning in that game. I'll tell you that. I learned to shoot. You have to use your fingers. If you use your fingers, they make things happen in the game.
Yep.
Do they?
Don't
I'm
just-
bad at that.
What are you doing? Okay, wait, Becky. You're like, we can't actually see your hands. You're like, use your fingers.
Okay,
And then
bye, guys.
Okay,
No, Angie. No.
No.
We don't. No.
we're talking about it.
No, you're not.
Talking about it.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. See y'all later.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.